I was watching a YouTube channel from a guy that I get a lot of information from called David the Good. So anyways, I was watching his video and he was talking about the planning phase of a food forest. And specifically when a new gardener or someone that's interested in building a food forest, that sort of initial phase that they fall into where they're just like, they want to plan everything out. We can get obsessed with the planning phase and we can find ourselves locked into that planning phase for months and months and months and months, and trying to figure out everything and trying to do all the research and trying to learn the details of all the different plants we have and where specifically in our food forest we should plant them. The way that David the Good's video actually ended was, the reason that you don't have a food forest yet is because you haven't put your trees in the ground. And I mean, it's as simple as that. We get stuck in that planning phase because it's comfortable, because we're not actually doing the physical work that we need to do to actually create what we want to create. And what I'm creating here is a food forest. If you caught my last video, we did a little tour around the property. I showed you some of the different places and stuff like that. I showed you my little fruit plant starter set. I've got 3 of them back there. I've kind of got them dispersed around the property. We'll go through and I'll show you where everything is going to be planted. But I want to sort of heed the advice from the knowledge that I learned, just this morning. And I admit that I've been doing the same thing. I've been doing the planning thing. I've been stuck in that planning phase, and I've been letting these fruit trees just kind of sit out here while I try to figure everything out. But really what I've been doing is I've been avoiding the hard work. So yeah, that's the plan. Plant some trees. One of the things I haven't really talked about is all of this grass in this space right here is eventually going to be a garden bed. And I'm going to pull all this grass out. I'm not going to go with the no-till method. I'm going to go with a bit of a till method in the beginning. I'm going to kind of pull all of this grass out of here. And then the compost pile that you can't actually see behind me that I got delivered as part of my little food forest starter kit, I'm going to fill in as much of this bed as I can. So again, the idea is to plant all of these fruit trees and then create like garden beds for vegetables and things like that all around them. And we're going to eventually do that around all of our trees. Let's get back to digging our first hole. I live in North Carolina, kind of on the southern side of it, really close to Charlotte is a city, if you've ever heard of it. And this is the kind of clay that we deal with under the ground, which is another one of the big reasons that I got a large pile of compost right over there, just so we can start to amend this kind of red clay that all us North Carolinians know so well. So I dug the first hole for, I guess I didn't even tell you what this tree was called yet. This is probably my favorite that I purchased in this little 6-piece starter kit, and this is a cherry lapins. So basically, this is going to be a cherry tree, and I love cherries, so I figured, why not put a cherry tree like this into the ground? But that was my first hole right there. Let me kind of clear this out a little bit. Oh man. Oh. Fruit tree. Now I've got our little barrel of compost here, and we've got our little fruit tree hole with a lot of open space around the edges, and we're just going to take some of this garden soil like this, handful by handful, and we're going to put it down in the crevices. And obviously, when I have more than one hand to do this, I'll do it a little bit more aggressively. I want to sort of give the roots of this tree an excuse to sort of like reach outwards, So I'm kind of giving it a little bit of a barrier around the outside with some delicious food, and hopefully that encourages its roots to spread outwards Okay, to be a little bit aggressive at this point, to kind of get it in a position that you want. And there we go. We've got our first fruit tree in the ground. Our cherry tree, cherry lapins, I should say. But now what I gotta do is I gotta plant at least these other 2 trees that are gonna be residing in this little front bed over here. We're gonna move around the yard. We're gonna plant all of the fruit trees in the food forest today. So even if we don't get to the scraping out of the bed and things like that, like I said at the very beginning of this video, the lesson that I learned from my education this morning watching YouTube was you don't have a food forest yet because you don't have your fruit trees in the ground. So that's my main objective for today, is to just get these fruit trees in the ground. And I'm debating wiping this dirty hand all over my face, that's sweaty, just to kind of liven up the video a little bit. So onto this tree right here, and onto this tree right here. We're gonna get them in the ground, just like that last one. Again, this is my experience of starting a food forest. And that's what I'm hoping to inspire you to do too. Is showing you, it's not easy work, but it's not hard work either. This is a tangy green apple. This is the tangy green apple. I've got an apple tree right there. And this one right over here is a sun glow nectarine. That's what that is. I spent the extra money on the nursery that I bought these fruit trees from and got the biggest sizes that I could, just to kind of give me a little jump start on the future. It's already a little bit late into summer. It's July. It was July 1st yesterday. So it's a little bit late into the summer already. And I wanted to make sure I set myself up for a lot of success next year, hopefully. And so when I purchased the actual fruit trees, I went with, like, you can choose like 1, 2 feet, 3, 4 feet. I always went with like the biggest one, 5, 6 feet, something like that. Just because I know they've been sitting there, they've been growing longer, and hopefully that will start to produce fruit and all the things that we want from these things a lot faster. Plant your food forest. You don't have your food forest right now because you haven't planted it yet. Did I mention that I'm also digging the holes about, I want to say like a pot and a half width around it. So I think I kind of went through it when I dumped some compost in the last hole, but I'm leaving a little bit of space. You want to dig your hole a little bit wider than the potted plant so it has room to kind of stretch out. And you also want to leave it a little bit set up, especially if you're going to be burying it in other bed material like compost and wood chips and all that sort of stuff. Back to digging. You know what the best part about working hard though is? Is after you're done working hard and you've got the feeling, it's almost like that energy that you were putting into the ground, that you were doing, like that you were providing to the earth. It's kind of like, it feeds back through you. And it just like keeps you going. I don't know a better way to say it. We've got our nectarine hole dug right there. Can you see it? And we've got our apple tree hole dug right there. How many handfuls is it going to take till I can finally say the finishing shot for our trees in the up front area? Nope. We're going to need one more, at least, maybe 2. Let's try and grab a massive handful. I'm sweating under my camera. All right. My hands aren't very big, so, So this is our apple tree right here that we've got in the ground. There is is it a nectarine or a clementine? This is our nectarine tree that we put in the ground over there. Again, from the very beginning, my favorite, our cherry tree. And so far, we've got everything in place. So now, after being about as tired as I thought I was going to be after this whole project was done today, we've got 3 more trees left to put into the ground. And then in this video, at some point, whether it's today or tomorrow, we're going to start digging the bed right around here that kind of encompasses all of these fruit trees so that we can plant other things, vegetables. I showed you in the last video, the property tour, the box full of seeds of vegetables and different things that we have to plant in this garden. The next time I see you, we'll be digging yet another fruit tree hole. We're not just digging fruit tree holes, folks. We're starting the food forest. And unlike starting the food forest in the last video that I talked about, where we just toured around and talked about all of our ideas, we're actually starting it by putting the trees into the ground. First and foremost, don't forget to hydrate. Hold on. That's a stop and hydrate. But next, we're heading over here to our, is it a loquat? I think it's a loquat. Yep, it's a loquat. So just like before, same old. Dig a hole in the ground right where that loquat is sitting and stick that tree into the food forest. Whoa. So as you might be able to see, it's getting a little bit rocky down here. Nothing too much, but I think that's deep enough for our loquat tree right there. Loquat, did I say it correct? Alright. Trying to get up this hill as smoothly as possible. I think maybe one more scoop should do it. I've got most of the stuff going on in this section of the garden right here. But believe it or not, this section, and actually all the way back in here, gets probably more light than the other section. So I want to try doing some sort of a little bed up here. I want to have kind of the tree on the outskirts and maybe veggies and stuff all around it, something like that. But yeah, I'm just trying this one thing on the other side of the yard. The one thing that's going to be kind of annoying is that I'm going to have to probably manually water it. Okay, next up, and finally in the shade, is our banana tree. This is an ice cream banana. Let me get a shot of the label right there. An ice cream banana, which is supposed to be just like a delicious banana that tastes like ice cream. Now I want to quickly point out, and this isn't something that you're going to know because you haven't spent time on this land like I have, but this little area right here is sort of on the edge where we get the most sunlight in this front part of the food forest. So this particular part, I mean, it sits in shade for a good half of the day. Not complete shade. It sort of gets dappled light. I think what I'm rambling on trying to say is that it may not be the most brightest, most ideal condition for that banana tree, but I'm going to try it out anyways for a couple reasons. Number one, I want to eventually create sort of an entrance coming in here, and I want a nice big banana tree right there. But number two, this kind of leads back towards the cabin back there and the pond and everything like that. And I just wanted sort of like a tropical feel as you walked back towards the pond and stuff like that. Let's do one more shot of me sticking this shovel in the ground, and then the next time you see me, we'll have this banana tree in the ground as well. We're moving forward, and I feel so much better now that I'm in the shade. That's one of the things I'm most thankful for about this property, is all of this like abundant shade around me. But it's also one of the things that's been like messing with my mind as far as like the planning and like just the general outlook of how is this food forest going to do. So at the end of the day, it's all an experiment. We're going to find out. That's what we're doing right now. Let's get this banana tree into the ground. One thing I also forgot to mention is I have a blueberry bush right here, and I also have a raspberry bush right here. I kind of just set them down there to hold the banana tree up. I don't think I'm actually going to put them in this spot, and I'm not sure what we're going to do with them quite yet, so I'm just going to set those aside for now. Back to digging. And there you have it. We've got an ice cream banana tree in the ground. How about I celebrate with an aerial walk around shot? Ice cream banana. We'll see how it does in there. Anyways, moving on to the next section. We've got a fuzzy kiwi vine right over there. Now what I thought I was actually ordering was what's called a prolific kiwi vine, which produces these like little grape-like kiwis that you don't have to peel or anything. You can just pop them in your mouth like grapes. I accidentally ordered the fuzzy kiwi variety, which I also love. It just wasn't what I was expecting. So probably in the near future, I'm going to bring one of those prolific kiwi vines back in here. But in the meantime, I've got this fuzzy kiwi vine, and what I'm thinking, so I want to have some sort of an entrance over here, and I'm thinking that maybe if we put this fuzzy kiwi and then vine it up some sort of a trellis right here, maybe have a prolific kiwi on the other side even, so we have two kinds of kiwis growing on our little entrance, whatever you call it, archway thing here. I just think that would be pretty cool. So that's what we're going to do for now until we get that other kiwi vine. We're going to take this kiwi vine right here and we're going to put it right there. So we're going to go right up next to the concrete right here. We'll even leave this little ladybug here for a minute, but we're going to go right in here because I may end up vining up this as well. Sometimes you find buried treasure, like this thing that says plastic protective plate. Have I mentioned how tired I am of digging holes? Have I also mentioned how satisfying it is when you see a root like this in your hole and then you just kind of dig it and it pops out? So this is not actually a tree, it's a vine. And again, that's why we're going to hopefully vine this thing over some sort of a nice archway trellis type thing as like an entrance to the garden. Another little fact about this kiwi tree before I move on, put it in the ground, is that with the prolific, I think they're self-pollinating. But with this fuzzy kiwi, you actually need a male and a female plant. But the place that I bought this from has both a male and a female plant in the pot here. So it's kind of like ready to go. But that's definitely another thing that you want to kind of look into when you're purchasing your fruit trees is, does the fruit tree that I'm getting need a male or a female counterpart to actually pollinate? Because, you know, just like humans, sometimes there's a lot of plants that do what's called self-pollinating, where they create the fruit on the trees all by themselves, just from, you know, the flowers blooming and the bees buzzing and moving all the pollen from one little bud to the next and all that stuff. But some trees physically need a male counterpart to produce the flowers that brings the pollen over to the female tree and thus creates fruit. So just make sure you look out for that when you're ordering your fruit trees. Make sure that they are self-pollinating. That's probably the easiest way to go. Or if they're not self-pollinating, make sure that you get both a male and a female version so that you can produce fruit. That's why we get these fruit trees, right? I'm going to move this over to our pot spot. How's that for a name for a garden hole? Let's gently, I don't want to break the vines, so let's gently kind of give this thing a squeeze, maybe a bit of a shake, maybe a bit of a pull on these bamboo things that are in here, and then let's pop her into the ground, just like so. I kind of like that shot of me sneaking behind the leaves there. Makes me feel a little sneaky. This is the final plant, by the way, of the initial starter pack, our first 6 fruit trees that we're putting into the ground. So let's lay that guy right there. And there we have it. We've got our fuzzy kiwi planted right there in what I think is eventually going to be the entrance, or at least sort of the entrance pathway that kind of comes down and goes towards the back of the property and everything over here. But that is our starter kit of fruit trees officially in the ground. Let me give you a quick tour just to kind of run through everything again. We've got our nectarine right there. We've got our cherry tree right there. Our apple tree right over there. Tons of garden soil left right there still. We've got our loquat tree up on the hill over there. We've got our banana tree in the ground right over there. And last but not least, again, our fuzzy kiwi tree. So of course, this is just the beginning of our food forest journey. This is just the little starter pack of fruit trees that I purchased to kind of help invigorate the motivation in me to get out here start working our muscles again, start digging holes, start putting fruit trees into the ground so that we can care for them and they can grow up and they can start to give back to us as much as we give to them. Again, I want to reiterate something that I said at the very beginning of this video, because it's something that I've struggled with for a long time. It's something that we all struggle with every new project that we want to do, and that is to just get doing it. And a lot of times we kind of trick ourselves into that, in that like design phase of things, where we convince ourselves we don't have to do anything. We can sit around in the air conditioning, we can be lazy because we're planning, we're designing, we're thinking, we're using our brain. Isn't that what God gave us to use as human beings? Isn't that our special feature? And we get stuck in that design phase, and we find that it ends up taking a lot longer to actually get started on what we're dreaming of doing than it should. So this was my personal kick in the butt to start the food forest. It was to go and to place an order to get a little starter kit. I got 6 fruit trees, and to get them in the ground. We've got some more work to do on the trees. We're going to be putting some wood chips down and things like that. But more importantly, either tomorrow or the next day, I'm going to come back out here and I'm going to start to mark lines, and I'm going to make one nice big bed for all sorts of other plants and everything right in this corner here. You can already see, I mean, at this time of the day, it's getting a lot of nice sunlight. That loquat that we planted back there on the hill, it gets a lot of its nice sunlight right in the morning up until a little bit later. But nonetheless, I'm going to come back and I'm going to start digging the beds. I'm going to get this grass out of here. I'm going to start creating beds that we can put more of that garden soil in the back there into, and then start direct sowing vegetable seeds and flower seeds and cover crop seeds and all sorts of stuff over there. As well as we're probably going to do another bed over here, and then we'll do another bed over there eventually too. All of these trees are going to be surrounded, even the one up on the hill over there, they're all going to be surrounded by these big, I don't want to say giant, but these bigger, you know, just nice, beautiful soil beds. And I've got some really cool things to show you as far as how we're going to be pulling all of the wood and everything that we need from those woods over there, mulching them up, turning them into wood chips, and using that as sort of a mulch. And then one last thing that's also on my to-do list is this bed right here. I mentioned it in my last little property tour video, but we've got to get that red stuff out of there because it hurts my eyes. It's so unnatural looking. It hurts my eyes. Now, you know what? I actually forgot we did have one more fruit tree in here. We've got a clementine, if I remember correctly. Yeah, this is a clementine tree that I actually forgot we had. Maybe we'll end the video with one more shot of digging out our last hole. So what I actually want to do with this little clementine tree here is I want to put it right here towards the front. This is like a big kind of circular bed, so it looks a little bit weird to be kind of offsetting it right in the front like this. But the reason that I'm doing that is because one of the things that I didn't mention is my plans for keeping all of these fruit trees small. I've been pretty inspired by a lot of videos that I've been watching that talk about pruning your fruit trees the proper way, you know, annually, so that they stay at the height that you actually want them to be. So just because a plant says that it's going to grow to 20, 30, 40 feet high, it doesn't mean that you have to have a 30, 40 foot high fruit tree. You can prune that thing annually and basically keep it small and at whatever level you want, which normally for people who want to, you know, do something in their backyard garden, they want to keep their fruit trees, you know, to where they're not having to pull ladders out to harvest fruit from the top of the trees and stuff. So we want to keep it nice and small and manageable. And because of that, I'm probably going to end up planting multiple citrus trees in this front area here. So I want to set this one right over here so that we have room for maybe one or maybe even two more citrus trees in this area. One of the nice things about this bed is that I've already been adding compost and stuff to this soil for quite some time, since I think it was last year, maybe even close to 2 years ago, that I that I actually was in here amending these beds and building these front beds. So unlike some of the other areas in the yard, this soil is just really nice and already kind of, it's a little bit of clay and stuff, but it's just like a really nice, I don't know, it just feels so good in your fingers. We've officially got I thought it was 6, but I guess all 7 fruit trees in the ground. That's another one of those things that kind of magically happens as you start doing this food forest stuff, is sometimes you forget that you've ordered another tree that you just had sitting around the corner. So again, just those magical little surprises that we find when we kind of let ourselves go and we let ourselves sort of sink into nature. We get our hands dirty with some crusty dirt. Maybe pull a couple heaps of compost just to kind of finish everything up. There's one other little tip I wanted to give you that I forgot to mention. I guess maybe that's why I was blessed with the opportunity to plant this last tree, is that I forgot to tell you one of the most important things about planting your trees. Well, there's 2 things. I'm going to cover the first one now, and that is that once you actually get your tree in the ground, you want to sort of manhandle it a little bit and just kind of push those roots. You don't want to be ridiculous with it, but you just kind of want to push those roots in the ground just to kind of give them a reason to settle. Kind of work them into that hole that you just built for them, into their new home. Second most important tip, and probably even more important than the manhandling, is watering. You want to water all of these brand new plants in, again, just like when we were kind of pushing them into the earth, by giving them a nice, healthy drink of water. The day that they get into the ground, it just makes their new home a little bit more relaxing. It starts to bring some nutrients to their roots, so it shows them that what we're doing is good, that this new place that they're in is good. And just let you enjoy the sounds of plants being watered. I've been seeing all sorts of tips on watering and these specific types of hoses that you can get that I've been kind of interested in, but right now I'm just using the good old-fashioned garden hose. So thanks for watching me plant a bunch of stuff. Thanks for watching me plant my little starter food forest kit into the ground. Thanks for listening to me ramble about all this different stuff. If you're excited about this stuff too, if you have already started your own food forest, or you're planning on starting your own food forest, either way, I hope that the lessons that I learned through all of this, that I can again share with you, I hope that that inspires you to fall in love with nature like I have, and just be passionate about watching this stuff happen, about not only about the fruit the fruit and the food and the vegetables and all the stuff that this food forest is going to give us, but passionate about watching how abundant nature and this world can be with just a little bit of focus and a little bit of passion and influence from us. Because at the end of the day, we're part of nature, just like the trees, just like the plants, just like everything else. And that's one of the things that we're on this planet to do, I believe, is to find a way to somehow work in harmony with all of this around us. And then just watch the abundance of the earth unfold beneath us. I don't know a better way to end it than that, so I'm going to stop recording until I ramble for another hour.